Is the competition at USC's right guard spot a concern? Or does USC just have too much depth?
You are Locked On Trojans, your daily podcast on the USC Trojans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Fight on, everyone. I'm your host, Mark Holkin, and thank you for making Locked On USC part of the Locked On Network. Your first listen every day, whether you're watching the show on YouTube, wherever you want to download your podcast. The show is always free, and this show always appreciates your support. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more as the playoffs wind down. The sports aren't sporting like we want them to, but FanDuel is making this summer, they're hooking it up for all their customers. You need a boost, you need a bonus daily, they got it for you. That's right, there's something for everyone, every day, all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. On yesterday's episode, I gave you my first preliminary starting lineup on both sides of the ball. My everydayers, they left their comments. Most of you agreed. Some of you disagreed. That's okay. I'm totally good with that. Apparently, though, I'm missing some stuff at practice that some of my everydayers are seeing with regards to the defensive line. What do I know? I'm hanging out at practice, watching what they allow us to. Some of my everydayers apparently have access to the starting defensive line group, what they're seeing. We'll see. Sarcasm. It's a joke. Relax. When I was talking about the offensive line on yesterday's episode of Locked on USC, this is what I said. This is how I see it. This is, again, my preliminary, my first starting lineup, rolling it out. It's going to change a couple of times, I promise you. Maybe not so much with the offensive line per se, but in general. Here's who I'm starting right now. Left tackle, you got Elijah Page. A left guard, Emmanuel Preyon. At center, Jonah Monheim. At right guard, these are the guys who are competing for the spot. You got Gino Quinones, you got Alani Noah, you got Amos Talalele, and you also have one other guy who I forgot to mention on yesterday's show, Micah Banuelos. He's also part of the right guard competition. My bad. I was tripping. I pulled a Kyle Ford. Won't happen again. Promise. Anyways, so you've got Gino, Alani, Amos, Micah. They're battling it out at that right guard spot. At right tackle, you have Mason Murphy. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to slot Gino Quinones in at right guard. And let me tell you why. Like I said, I thought I was going to change this around. I did a little bit of thinking, slept on it, coming back. Let me explain to you my decision. If you have a four-man competition for that right guard spot, question, is that a concern? Or should we just look at that as, you know what, it's a positive. There's more depth than we thought we had. If we want to look at it from the positive perspective, that's how you approach the situation. USC's got more players that can do the job than they thought originally. Remember, last year, Alani Noah, he started at right guard. Game one, true freshman. Caught everybody by surprise. Caught me by surprise. This year, just a reminder, everybody knows this, USC opens their season against LSU. It's a lot different than opening the season at home in the Coliseum against San Jose State. Now, I know that Noah and Amos Talalele, they're bigger and they've got more mass than Gino. No one's going to argue that point. Gino's not a small kid, not a small man whatsoever. But when you stand him up between those two, Gino's the baby of the bunch. It is what it is. But what I'm thinking is this. Who do you want inside playing next to Jonah when you've got a guy on the other side of the line who's playing defense for LSU? His name's Harold Perkins. Big, fast, experienced, knows how to get to the quarterback. When you've got somebody like that who's trying to find open space and get inside between the gaps, I'm not saying that Alani Noah or Amos or Micah aren't capable, but give me the game experience over size every day, twice on Sundays. When it comes to the offensive line, I need guys who have the experience, who are, if they're just as good as guys who are bigger than them, yeah, lean towards the experience. Again, you're playing at home. When you're playing at home against San Jose State, it's a lot different. You can kind of roll the dice with the true freshman out there saying, hey, Alani, go make it happen. It's a lot different than LSU down there in Sin City. Big difference. So to my original question, is this a depth problem? Or, is this does the right guard have I don't know, are we creating a sinkhole, so to speak? Because no one's separating themselves from each other. After practice last week, Coach Riley said this. That's one of the biggest position battles right now, no question. We're trying to look at a lot of guys. Now, Micah Banuelos, he's the latest to join the competition. When he was recruited last year, part of the 2023 class, he was being recruited as a center. But after, taking a look at him there, it's been, I guess, they forecast him better at playing one of the guard spots. Now, when Micah showed up, another thing to keep in mind, he had a flat tire, so to speak. So Coach Riley, the staff decided they're going to shut it down. No reason to force him. He used his red shirt. So now, he's bigger, he's stronger, he's a year in the system. He now finds himself in a battle for, playing time. Coach Riley said this about Micah. He's really starting to make a move right now in that right guard competition. It's been fun to see him dive in as well. I think he's certainly got a chance to factor in. So you're comparing now Alani Noah, starter, part-time player at right guard last year, and then you're bringing into the equation Amos Talalele. When he showed up to USC, he was probably 350 pounds, big. Now he's in better shape. A year in the program, he's still massive, but they got him down to about 340 pounds, which is fine. I think they probably want to get him down closer to that 330-pound range, I would imagine. But here's the interesting comment that Coach Riley offered last week when he was talking about the right guard spot. When he spoke about Alani and Amos, he talked about their similarities. They both have the ability, they have the mass, they have the movement skills. It's just understanding the game. It's understanding all the different things that can happen on plays, being able to react, being able to communicate on a consistent basis. They can do it now so much better than when they were true freshmen, but to get to the level of a starter is their challenge right now. And end quote. It's that last sentence is what stood out to me the most. That last part. Again, just a reminder, Noah started last year. He actually started ahead of Gino Quinones. This was before Gino got hurt. In fact, USC started 2 new guys at guard in that first game. You had the transfer Emmanuel Prignon from Wyoming. You had Justin Dietrich, who was playing at center. And then you slotted in Alani Noah at right guard. Here's where I'm at right now. The team is getting close to being, 2 weeks into fall camp. When I'm back out there, you're watching this episode today, Tuesday, first thing. I'm at practice Tuesday morning. That's day number 10. I think we've reached the point now. It's time to put the glove on all 5 fingers of that offensive line, get everybody comfortable inside. I say it's time. You got to get it figured out by the end of the week. I believe they're going to have a scrimmage Saturday. Figured out by the end of that scrimmage. And you know what? We might be at this situation. It worked last year with Elijah Page. Maybe send Alani Noah back to the scout team. Give him that Elijah Page treatment. Again, if the situation isn't figured out by the end of the scrimmage, it might be a concern. But again, if we want to look at it from the positive side, there's depth if someone can't get the job done. So right now, I've got Gino. I think he's going to be the starting right guard. You like to be able to keep him as that 6th man off the bench, so to speak, because he can play both interior spots. He could probably snap for you in a pinch. He could probably play left, play one of the tackle spots. But game one, out of the chute against LSU, if Alani Noah or Amos Talalele haven't completely separated themselves, or Micah Benuelos, haven't completely separated themselves from Gino, who's the smallest of the bunch, let's go with Gino. He's still 6 foot, I think 6'6", 300 pounds. It's not small. Let's use his experience. Again, I'm going to be talking about this more between now and that when USC kicks off against LSU. But, thought we should come back, readdress the offensive line, specifically that right guard spot, because it looks like the other 4 positions pretty much locked in. Now we just need to get that fifth finger figured out. Since we're talking about, naming starters, I think it's probably better to name the starting quarterback sooner than later. Let's talk about that in the next segment. I love sports so much. You know this. I say it all the time. I think you know how much I love USC football and USC basketball. Give me a channel where I could watch them 24/7, 365. Wow, I'm in heaven. Live, not recorded. But the playoffs have wound down, and we're not getting as many games. The football season is right around the corner, thank God. And we're just not getting the sports we want the way we want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app, dream up any bets anytime I'm in the mood, and I'm covered. And this summer, FanDuel has got you covered. They're hooking up all their customers with a boost or a bonus, and they're doing it daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com/LockedOn and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. I know you're making Locked On USC your first listen every day. What are you doing for your second listen? You should probably head on over and go check out Locked On College Football. Spencer McLaughlin, he's the host. He's going to get you ready for a really exciting season of the gridiron. You got the conference realignment. You got the transfer portal. You got NIL. You got the new college football expanded playoffs. There's a whole lot more going on. Locked On College Football is available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Would it be better to name a starting quarterback or pretend you're Lincoln Riley? You're going to keep the competition over. Keep the competition open. What are you going to do? I'm a big believer that you want to get that starter named as quickly as possible. I don't think Lincoln Riley is trying to gaslight the media, the fans, Brian Kelly, LSU spies, but I'm pretty darn confident Miller Moss is going to be USC starting quarterback. I'm on record. I haven't deviated from this. But if you publicly name Moss your starter, I can only think of there's one downside. Only one I can think of. One that Lincoln Riley would have to explain. At least tell everybody why you changed your mind after, a week and a half or so of fall camp. If Coach Riley chooses to kill the open competition early, the concern, at least for me, would be Jaden Mayava's reaction. You still got 3 weeks left of camp before USC and LSU kicks off. Where does his head go? As long as there's an open competition, he's fighting. But if you say, all right, Miller, you're the man, it's Miller time, does Jaden keep fighting? I'm sure he will. But I think, the natural reaction is, all right, I can take my foot off the gas a little bit. Go into cruise control. So again, Riley would have to explain why he went from the open competition to naming a starter essentially week and a half after camp's open. But when you name your starter now, you're now telling your offensive line and the rest of the guys, on offense, focus on Miller. Focus on the way he's driving the car. Don't worry about who's the best driver anymore. He's behind the wheel. From the coaching perspective aspect of this whole thing, if there's uncertainty regarding, who's going to be playing quarterback, now all of a sudden Coach Riley and the rest of his staff, they have to dedicate at least part of their time. All right, how is today's practice going to work? What is my plan for using multiple players? I'm not saying, look, they dedicate time to this as it is. But if now you can say, I don't have to dedicate an extra 15 minutes of my day to figuring this out, that's 15 more minutes of your time focused on the team. And again, you're sending a really good clear-cut message to the rest of the team that you have your clear number one. If you don't, what kind of message are you sending to the team? The earlier Moss, or let's say Jaden Mayava, all of a sudden is the start at the end of the week. That's better for the rest of the team. Once your starter's been named, the practice reps start changing, and this is part of the gray area, that whole nuance, the things that doesn't get talked about enough. But this is what's going on behind the scenes. Once you become QB1, you're the starter. And once you become the starter at any of the other positions, those practice reps, they change. The guy who's starting, you're going to get more reps with the ones. The quarterback, you're getting reps with the ones and the twos. But yeah, you're going to get more than the backup. Just the way it works. And it comes down to now you're trying to get the chemistry going with your wide receivers. And you got a lot of them. You have to have the play call cadence that's going on at the line of scrimmage. Everybody's got to get in line with that. Miller Moss might have a certain cadence. Jaden Mayava has a certain cadence. Jake Jensen, Gage Roy. Once you name the starter, you got to get that familiarity going. The guys on offense, specifically the offensive line. Yeah, you want to know where your quarterback likes to go when there's pressure. Typically, there's, obviously you got to react. If one side of the line is forcing you, you're not going to step into that. But a lot of times, what a quarterback is going to do. You have an idea of when things break down, what the quarterback's going to do. So the sooner you get the starter in there, the sooner everybody works with those tendencies. You've got the quarterback running back handoff exchange. You got to get that timing down. There's so much going on. Something I think I barely talk about on the show. If you're not aware of this, there's a new communication system. Yeah. The quarterback is going to have a microphone or at least a speaker in there so Lincoln Riley can radio the play call right to him from the sideline, right in the middle. There's no more of these hand signs holding up placards. Michigan, they're making life really difficult for Michigan to cheat. I'm kidding, Michigan fan, having a little fun at your expense. So yeah, once you name Miller or you name your starting quarterback, now you start working out the kinks with that whole communication system. I think this is going to be something really interesting to watch. How much does this slow down the offense with the new play calling system? Does it slow it down? Again, I'd rather have a starter named much sooner than later. This is just me. And I'm sure Lincoln Riley does too. And look, I have an idea. I'm pretty sure Coach Riley, Josh Henson, the rest of the staff, Luke Heward, they have a pretty good idea who the starter is going to be. I think everybody's leaning towards Miller Moss. You can kind of hear it when Coach Riley talks about the competition. And we're going to talk to him again after practice on Tuesday. So we'll see where we're at. Remember, the last time the media was at practice was last Friday. The teams had 2 sessions without the media, Saturday, Sunday. They were off on Monday. So we'll see where we're at. Could be an update. Obviously, we're going to see if anybody is being added or removed from the injury. I went over that last week as well. Oh, should probably get this out of the way before we get to our next segment. The AP poll came out, the first one, preseason AP poll. Trojans, they came in at number 23. Guess what? It's the same ranking the program got with the coaches poll, number 23. In fact, the AP poll, coaches poll, almost identical. They mirror each other. This shows you how much thought is going into this. Everybody in the AP said, oh, what did the coaches do? That looks good. Let's copy them. I'll go over it for you real quickly. Georgia, number 1, Ohio State 2, Oregon 3, Texas 4, Alabama 5, Ole Miss 6, Notre Dame 7, Michigan at 8, Penn State number 9, Florida State 10, Missouri 11, LSU bumped up a spot to number 12, Utah's 13, Clemson 14, Tennessee 15, Oklahoma 16, Kansas State 17, Oklahoma State 18, Miami 19, Texas A&M 20. What is the love affair with Texas A&M? I don't get it. Whatever. Arizona 21. You got number 22, North Carolina State, the aforementioned USC at 23. Kansas and Iowa round out the top 25. I'm at the point right now, I don't care. USC beat LSU. That number 23 ranking is probably going to jump you up in there somewhere. I would say close to LSU. Should be ahead of them, right? Definitely be ahead of Miami, Texas A&M, Arizona. Who's Oklahoma playing their first game of the year? Not somebody as good as LSU. USC's got a lot of these teams ahead of them on their schedule. As long as USC wins the games, they'll end up exactly where they need to end up. I'm okay with it. A little disappointed starting this low, but based on the bad taste they left in everybody's mouth after last season, this is kind of what they've earned, so to speak. We got one more segment coming up, and it's about recruiting. Yeah, I hope you stuck around. USC got a big-time recruit. Held it to the end of the show for a reason. I want you to stick around. We usually start off with recruiting. This time I kept it to the end of the show. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From your superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more, whether in the speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. And with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. So, did you feel that? If you live in California, it was an earthquake, but we also got a little bit of a kaboom. Yeah. USC got another commitment for its class of 2025. This one is like one of those Polaroid pictures. If you're old enough, you know exactly what I'm talking about right now. Took some time to develop. Kendarius D. Reddick, 5'11", 170 pounds safety from Thomasville, Georgia. He finally made it official. He's a USC Trojan. He originally committed to Auburn. This was back in, I think, February of this year. Or that actually was last year. He then flipped and committed to University of Central Florida, of all places. At that time, Reddick was the number 140 overall prospect, the number 15 safety in the 2025 class, according to the On3 industry. USC, they wanted him. So they brought him in for an official visit. This was back in June. And at the end of June is when it was trending that, hey, you know what? I think USC flipped him. All of my everydayers heard me say back then that D, he goes by the nickname D Reddick. He was one of those emojis, that Lincoln Riley puts out anytime USC gets a commitment. Well, Coach Riley posted one of these right around the time D was on his official visit on his way home. Well, guess what? It's official. It happened. That Polaroid picture finally developed. It took a couple of months. But usually when somebody commits, that far out, and the longer it takes, the less chance it comes to fruition. It never happens. I don't know why it took this long. It did. We're happy about it. So this coming out of the blue, commitment, it's a nice surprise. It kind of shows you the staff staying after it. They didn't give up. Look, no lie on my end. I almost forgot all about him. I haven't mentioned him in weeks. It's got to be at least a month. I'll have to go back and check, but it's been a while. But here's what you're getting. You're getting a really good player. Again, he's considered the number 15 safety in the country, according to On3. Alabama wanted him. He was committed to Auburn. Tennessee was after him. He had all the big-time programs going after him. Coach Henney saw him, wanted him big time. In high school, you would call him a stat sheet stuffer. Say that 3 times fast. So far during his first 3 seasons in high school, remember, he hasn't even played his senior year yet. So freshman, sophomore, and junior seasons, he has accumulated. And he plays for a powerhouse high school at Thomas County Central. He's accumulated 157 tackles, 5 interceptions, 5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. He plays safety, and he still has his senior year to play. USC's getting a playmaker. His head coach, his name's Justin Rogers. This is what he said about his player. He's the quarterback of our defense. He's a very sharp football IQ guy and an emotional leader for us. He's a natural leader for us. His great personality matches his great work ethic because he is such a competitor. What you see on Friday nights is the same thing you see on Monday afternoon at practice. He'll be a great locker room guy with a great personality that draws people in while he does the things the right way and models the behavior you want as a coach. End quote. So you bring in I guess you would consider him another blue chipper, right? You had Cardi Smith earlier this month. You now got D. Reddick. Don't forget, USC flipped the 4-star linebacker from Georgia, Jaden Perlot. Been a pretty good month of August so far. That was technically July 30th with Jadon. But hey, who's counting, right? In the last 2 weeks, USC has brought in Cardi Smith, offensive lineman from Mobile, Alabama. Jadon Perlot, flipped him from Georgia, linebacker. And you just got D. Reddick to flip officially from the University of Central Florida to USC. I'd say it's pretty good, right? And now when you add Reddick, who, by the way, becomes USC's, I think he's their 3rd highest rated commit in this class. The class has moved up. Previously, they were ranked 18th in the country. Now USC has the 16th ranked class in the country, according to On3. Not bad. A lot of players still out there. A lot of players USC still interested in. I think USC is going to be just fine as long as they do okay on the field this year. USC is going to end up with a really good recruiting class for those of you who like to count the stars. All right, so there you go. Big show. A lot going on. You got fall camp. You got competition on the offensive line. You're probably getting ready to name your starting quarterback, and USC is still recruiting. What else do you want? We all want. We want the season to start. I'll be back with another episode of Locked On USC tomorrow. When you're done making Locked On USC your first listen, don't forget about Locked On College, and then get on over there to wearesc.com. By the way, I don't know how much longer our sub special is going to run, but code USC number 1, $1, 2 months. Get after it. All right, everyone. Until then, you know what to do.